All right, so I just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about what's been going on recently with Gorilla Technology Group, and this is a stock that I've made a couple videos on now about how it is a great stock to invest in for the long term, and the short term even. And as of recently, it's been very volatile. You see this chart here; it's been up, it's been down, it's been back up again, and then now we're back down. But this time around, when it's been going back down, there's a reason for it, and that is this article that was published by a blogger on this website called the Bear Cave, and basically, the article was outlining any problems that they felt were present with Gorilla Technology. And immediately after the article was published, the price dropped from 40 to pretty much now we're at 28. Um, and in terms of my initial reaction to seeing this article, I was pretty much just like, oh, here we go again. Because stuff like this, honestly, is published very regularly with Gorilla. I mean, if you see its growth, from in the span of a couple months, we were at around $4, and then now we were at 40. So, it's huge growth in such a small time frame. So it's not surprising, honestly, and I've been seeing this because I've been invested ever since it's been November. I saw articles in November about how it's too early for Gorilla, how premature growth, whatever. So this is nothing new, honestly. It's just this article, especially coming at such a high price point after so much growth, really set the price down a lot. In terms of what the article said, in short, they were basically saying how, recent retail investor enthusiasm may be premature. So basically saying, the stock shouldn't really be going up this much, which, don't blame them because of how much it's been up. And, it's very surprising for a stock to be up this much. And then at the end, they say that the details of their businesses and partnerships are a little fuzzy. And I mean, again, that's not surprising for someone to say that because for so many partnerships to be announced in Gorilla's case and for the stock to jump from $4 to $40, that's crazy. That's never been seen before. That's why I've been a big fan of this company because, even though it's a little shocking that it's happening this much, I haven't been that surprised because this is a growing company. And I think they're valued they're still even undervalued. And I'll explain a little more into that. But, this isn't that surprising that people are making articles on this. It's just really the big thing is to not overreact to stuff like this. Stuff like this is going to happen if you have a growing company like Gorilla. And I hope, hopefully most of you guys watching this were able to invest when I made the two videos previously. And if you weren't, now is just a great time to do so because stuff like this happens all the time. If you look at the chart, you have these big jumps from $4 to 24 and then drops more than 50%. And, this isn't something to panic about. It's just a correction because of this huge growth. Investors are taking profits. People are getting skeptical. Articles like those are being made and people are panicking. And honestly, you shouldn't be panicking because there's nothing going wrong with the actual business. There's no bad news being reported with Gorilla. It's really just investors getting a little nervous that, what's going on here? Why is it going up so much? But really it's warranted. And I'll go back to, the baseline of why this all started and why Gorilla went from $4 to, $24 to now we even hit $40 is because of their financials. I mean, if you see the financials right now, they were growing a little bit. We're going back to 2019, 2020, and they dropped big in 2022. So you saw this huge drop. You were even at $100. I know they did reverse splits, so it was more like $10, and then they dropped all the way down to $5 to $2. This is all because of these struggling financials. But you see this huge jump in 2023 to $64 million. And, that sends the stock price up, and that's expected. And another thing that sends the stock price up that I think is why it's still very undervalued is their predictions and their forecasts. Gorilla themselves predicts $72 million in revenue for 2024, which those results should be coming out at the end of March. And then they net income of 10 million. And then by 2025, they predict 90 million with a net income of 15 million. And that doesn't even account for any impact for the additional contracts that they're making and all these projects that they're announcing with, throughout the world. They announce these partnerships and these projects every few weeks. So that growth is insane, and that is great projection that makes investors confident, and that means that the business is set up for success. And you're going to see these charts most definitely are going to be rising 64 million to 70 to 90. You see 100 million. Their net incomes are rising. So again, while investors, there's a reason why it keeps going down, is because while investors are maybe a little nervous that this might be too early and too much growth, because most companies grow, they double in the span of 5 years. Gorilla's 10x in the span of a couple months. But again, it's really just catching the stock early, and that's what I've done here. And I hope you guys trust me with this, because really it was what we found is we've caught a really fast growing stock very early before it's gone to the $1 billion market caps. Again, 524 million is still so low. And an interesting article I found about this, about Gorilla's growth and how it still isn't too overvalued, despite what all these articles are saying and how they're saying it's a little too early, is this article, which is it's talked about their I know Gorilla's price to earnings is a little high, because right now their revenues are not exactly insane. They're growing and they're pretty good, but they're not insane, so it is a little high. But there's something called price to earnings growth, and that's a statistic that calculates their growth of their price to earnings ratio, and that's pretty good to use for a company like Gorilla, who is constantly growing. So Gorilla's price to earnings growth is 50%. So that's taken from the 70 to $90 million jump. And if you divide the price to earnings ratio by the price to earnings growth, you get 20%. So what that basically means is that its price to earnings ratio right now is only 20% of what their price to earnings growth is. And that's big, because the average price to earnings, the price to earnings growth, price to earnings rate there should be 1 times what's its growth is, because that means that the ratio is exactly where it's going to be growing. But Gorilla is only 20%. So what that means is that if you divide 1 by 20%, that means that the current share price of Gorilla, according to the statistic, is 5 times too low. So you can do the math there. 5 times too low, that puts it at around more than $100 is where it really should be, if you factor in the growth, because that's really what the share price is right now. It's all factoring in that growth that you're getting with the projects, with the partnerships they're announcing, with the revenue growth, with the net income growth, with they're going to announce their earnings on the March 31st. Those should be good. So again, you're factoring all this into the share price, and with all this factored in, it really is undervalued. So in the end, you shouldn't get really nervous with this stuff, because this stuff happens all the time to Gorilla. It's a growing company. You see these big jumps. I've already said this. You see these 50% corrections. You see these big corrections here. You saw a correction here. People were panicking, but guess what? It went back up, because these are just corrections, honestly. And if I were you, if I'm holding right now, I wouldn't get nervous at all. If I had more money to spend, honestly, I'd be buying more right now. But I've already bought a ton. So if you're watching this right now and you bought at any point before this drop, holds, do not sell. I would definitely not sell. Again, the prediction for Gorilla, their growth, definitely do not sell. But right now, if you don't own Gorilla, I would definitely buy it now. I think, once again, these corrections are just an opportunity, honestly, to buy Gorilla cheap. Rather, buying it at 41, yes, it is expensive, but buying it at 28 is a whole lot cheaper. You're able to buy many more shares with a given amount of money. And, articles like this honestly come out all the time. I've been invested for so long in Gorilla, I know. But you just really have to stay patient. You have to, I don't really know. Some corrections last differently. This correction from 24 to 12 lasted for like a little more than a month. Or around a month. So, you got to be patient. This correction only lasted for a couple days and then it was back up. So I'm not really sure how long this one's going to last, but the big thing to keep at lookout for with Gorilla is their earnings, which are announced on March 31st. You see growth there. The stock price will definitely be up big. And once again, market cap is still very low. It's a growing company. They're doing unseen things. And, you can always look at a company's business ventures and kind of question them. You could do that with any business. You can do that with Amazon and Apple and say, what's going on here? Because you have that level of trust, and you could easily just say, well, what if this is all fake? But also, what if this is all real? And what if they are really doing big things? And that's what I think, and that's what I think Most of them think they're an accredited business. I know they had a little bit of problems in the past, but right now they're accredited. So I wouldn't really listen to those articles. Obviously, they drive the share price down because there isn't really any news with Gorilla. So, it's very volatile, but Gorilla is not that normal type of company where it just goes up a couple percent a day. And for months, it's going up on uptrends. No, Gorilla will be up 10% a day easily. It's nothing abnormal. It'll also be down 10% a day. It's nothing abnormal. So you just kind of have to get used to that as an investor. But if you are used to that and you don't sell because you're not panicking, which I hope you don't, and I know I'm not, in the long term, Gorilla will pay off for you. I can guarantee that. This is a growing company that I found really, really early, and it is still really, really early. Again, the CEO, I'm not obviously going to be a little bit biased here with the CEO saying this, but he's put the prediction of a $10 billion market cap by the end of the year. And if you do the math there, that would be around $500 share price, which they'd probably split it. So it'd probably be around 50. But again, that might be a little unrealistic, honestly, but it also couldn't be unrealistic because of all these big deals they're signing with these billion-dollar deals and these billion-dollar projects and this earnings growth. So, just keep that in mind. I just want to make a video on it because some of you might be invested, some of you might not be. Just not to panic, honestly. I'm not panicking. There's not that huge of a deal. It honestly could easily bounce back up to 40 this week, or it could stay still, or it could go down a little bit more. I'm not really sure, but that big date to look out for is March 31st. So be on the lookout for that, and do not panic if this happens anymore. Honestly, if it goes back up and goes back down again, you got to stay determined and have your eyes on the prize with what our final goal is, and that's to break that $100 level and keep on going. Honestly, this is just the start for Gorilla. So hopefully this helped. If you were ever nervous about what was going on with Gorilla, hopefully you're a little more at ease now, and let me know what you guys think in the comments. And, if you're invested, if you're not, if you want to, if you don't. So yeah. And thanks for watching.